What's going on, everybody? It has been a week. It has been a week. It has been a week, but I'm blessed to be here, and I hope y'all are blessed to be here too. So, thank you so much for coming to another episode of the Wonderful Art to Heart. I'm your host, LJ Bowens. It's almost Thanksgiving. I'm gonna be honest with y'all. I'm so ready for Thanksgiving to get here, just to break from work. I mean, I'm still gonna be cooking, but just a break from work and everything is much needed. I'm full now because it's just been a bountiful week, even though it's been a crazy week, but it's been a bountiful week. And I hope everybody's going good as well. So y'all ain't here for me. Y'all here for the feature. But before we get started, a couple of house cleaning rules so that way everybody knows what's going on. If this is your first time tuning in, Art to Heart is an event where we get to interview particular artists, whether they are creatives. When I mean creatives, I mean creatives do a lot of things, but if they're actors, if they're poets, if they are dancers, if they are comedians, if they just do a plethora of things, our whole show is catered to you getting to know the artist, because we do a lot of events in life where you just get the artist to do whatever they do in their performance element or in their trade, but we don't get to really know the story of a lot of our artists. So that's why we do this platform. So I'm very thankful that we've been doing it. I think this is our 13th show that we've been doing since we started during the pandemic when everything was happening. But it's good to know that everybody's enjoying it and everybody is still coming to see the type of artists that we bring here. So I'm very excited for this guest. But before we get started, if you are looking at what I'm about to do now, feel free to comment. So, of course, I'm going to ask questions to the artist so that way y'all can get to know the artist. But if you feel the need that you feel like you want to comment, you can go ahead and comment whether you are watching religiously on Facebook or YouTube. And once it pops up, I will bring it up on the screen as so. And people will see your comment, and then we will make sure that all your questions will get answered. We'll make sure to relate that question to the artist. And if you just have any comments about what they're saying, that's what we want you to do. So, with that being said, I am going to go ahead and bring up our artist. So, our feature for tonight, I had the pleasure of meeting her some time ago when she was here in Fayetteville. And in Fayetteville, once I met her, it was just a good energy about her. Like, I really didn't know the extent of her artistry and everything she did until more so years later. Talking to her in passing was always a good thing, but just getting to see everything she was doing then and now is just phenomenal. And I'm glad to get to hear more of her story, more of what she does as an artist. Hopefully, you guys feel free to ask her questions as well. She is a writer. She is a yoga instructor. She is a creative. Like, she does a lot of things. Like, I can't even name everything she does. I just know she creates, and it's always beautiful to see her when she's in her element. So, without further ado, we're going to bring up the wonderful, the awesome Tiya Caniel. Hello.
Peace. How are you doing?
I'm doing good, ma'am. How are you doing?
I'm good. So before, like, when I do interviews and like workshops and stuff, I like to first, like, thank you for having me on. My name is Tiya Caniel. Caniel is not my last name; it's actually my middle name. And also just to acknowledge where I am. So I'm in Harmony, North Carolina, which is um, about an hour north of Charlotte, and I'm currently residing on land that was previously inhabited and taken from the Tutelo and Catawba tribes. Um, and then at some point, my great grandfather bought this land and split it up amongst his children. So, yeah, it's good to be here. It's Sunday and it's dark.
It is.
It's dark as
Literally, I
fuck.
was looking at the weather today. It was like, I think almost 3:45, 4 o'clock, and I was like, it's getting darker than usual. And it's weird. Like, you never think of these things when you're a kid because it's just like gets dark. But like the older you get, you just like it's getting dark real fast. Like, it's
Yeah,
man.
like, and I'm in the country, so it's like it's dark out here. So I'm naturally like winding down, even though I'm probably gonna be up for a while. Like my body is like, that sun is down. It's time to chill.
So
But yeah.
I'm with you. So So the way the show works, before we get into, I always say the serious questions, but before we get into the serious questions, I always ask a few icebreaker questions just so the artist feels comfortable. I mean, you've done interviews plenty of times, so I mean, it's no different than anything you may have done. But I like to have a little bit of fun. People get to see a side of you they may have not got a chance to see, but you know, every now and then you be professional, every now and then you be ratchet. Just depends on what type of side you want to let out on a certain day. So, um, first icebreaker question for you: what is your favorite word and why?
Oh gosh, what is my favorite word? I mean, I'm sure like that changes from time to time, but I would have to say that right now my favorite word is liberation.
Nice. So why?
And
Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
no, I was gonna answer the why. Because that's what I'm about. Like that's the goal, and that's the theme that is currently um underneath everything else. It's essentially the what I aspire to be and embody. So yeah, I would have to say right now liberation is my favorite word. Yeah.
Good. Nice. So then that brings up, of course, the yin and the yang of this. What would be at this point your least favorite word and why?
Mm, my least favorite word. My least favorite
And these are the icebreaker questions. So
word. I'm just thinking like what are words that when I hear them I like, oh, I hate that word. Um I mean, I'm just gonna say the first thing that came to mind and keep it like very authentic. I hate the word cock, like, and I hate it in terms of like porn and like when it's used, in instead of the word penis, it just sounds like mad corny to me, and so that would be a word that I hate. Yeah, depending on how it's being used. Yes.
Got you. And by all means, I want you to be authentic. Don't feel like because we're doing a lot like a live
I'm
show.
not. I can't be
Yeah, please
anything
don't.
but.
Please don't.
Yeah,
Like I
it's
said, I want you to be you. Trust me. We had
okay.
what I tell you with this particular show, and this is why I say that. We had a voice actor. Her name is Megan Hollingshead. She played the voice of Nurse Joy from Pokemon when we
Mm,
interviewed her. So when I asked her that question, she just said, "Can I say the word?" I was like, "Yeah, feel free." She just went out and stopped a whole bunch of fuck bobs like on the whole thing, like it blew everybody off. But it's like she was being authentic. So I want you to be
yeah.
authentic when you're in this space. Like you're perfectly fine. So another interesting question I should ask you: being being an artist, being
Hmm.
everything that you do, being a creative, dead or alive, who is one artist in any medium you would like to sit down and have a cup of tea with, and why that particular person?
It has just one person.
You do a couple.
Andre 3000. Um, who else? Alice Walker. That's it for right now. I mean, I know some really dope artists. So, you know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
So, I'm trying to think of people like that aren't easily accessible to me at this time.
Got you.
Cuz I know some really like if I hit them up, I could I mean, I do hit them up and like, you know, talk about weird artsy things. Yeah.
Nice. So a follow up question came from somebody that's actually watching, who was actually somebody we interviewed last month. Her name is Lamel. She's with Scary Crit Podcast. If y'all listening, check that podcast out. Black Red. They talk about horror movies. It is a great podcast.
Ooh,
I
okay.
promise you, it's great. I'm not putting her on just 'cause I know her. It's an awesome podcast. But
Mhm.
she asked the question, "What kind of tea?"
What kind of tea? So one of my friends actually has his own tea. I don't know what he been doing with it lately, because you know us creatives can be everywhere. But he has a particular blend and it's called Nostalgia. The name of his tea company is the Tea Poppy, and his nostalgic blend is phenomenal. It's got like, I think it has like marigold and some cinnamon in there, I think. Oh, it has apricot. It has some like pieces of dry apricots in it and some other things, but that would be the tea. It would be his nostalgia blend for sure.
Okay, cool,
Yeah.
cool. So hopefully he's watching. That way, he knows you gave him a shout out of this tea. So got to support your folks. So I got two more icebreaker questions for you. So,
Okay.
all the profession that you're doing right now, what profession would you like to do or like to attempt? That's not one of your own. I know there's like a lot brewing in that head of yours. So
Again, I'll go with the first thing that came to mind, even though I'm like, really? Would I really want to do that? But it could be fun. I would I would like to explore being a chef. That's something that I have not explored. Like I cook and I cook very well. Um, but you know, I don't have any
better
like,
big up yourself. Talk about you cook very well. Okay,
I mean, the Leo in me is always gonna boost
I'm a
me
Leo
up.
too, so I'm with you.
We hype beasts. We always gonna hype ourselves up if nobody else will do it. But yeah, I would say that I would explore becoming a chef.
Nice. I like that. I honestly can
Mhm.
see you. I honestly can see you attempting to try to do that for some weird reason. I don't. I
Mhm.
don't know why. I just can see you just try it at least for a little bit. Then be like, okay, I tried it. Then go to something else. Because sometimes we do that. Fortunately and unfortunately. Somebody said Leo rules. Of course. I mean,
Word.
we do everything. So, but so last question for me.
Mhm.
Um, everybody has a certain belief system. Everybody has a certain faith. It could be Christianity. It could be Allah. It could be science. It could be a higher power in some sense of the word. So, whatever that is for you, what would you like to hear that higher power say to you once you are done on this physical earth?
Um, I would like to hear it say that I have um I'm looking for the right words. That I have shared my gifts and talents to capacity, not to a point where like I'm transitioning from a depleted state, um but like, oh, good job, like you did a really good job of sharing what you have to offer, right? Like in its fullness, as as wholly and as fully as you could. That would be great to hear. That would be great to hear.
Cool, cool. So while the show is going on, guys, because we're about to actually start getting to some questions, you're gonna see stuff pop up. But one of the biggest things I do want to make sure that I am sharing with you about this particular artist is that while the show is going on, if you want to go follow her, you can follow her on Instagram at Tiya Caniel, which you see on your screen. And also, she does have an awesome website because I was looking at it earlier and all the stuff that
Ah,
yeah, I trust me. I research my people. Trust me. I'm not gonna just
thank you.
no problem, no problem. So, people, make sure y'all checking this stuff out. If you don't get a chance to do it now, make sure you bookmark all this stuff during the show. So, let's get to it. Tiya Caniel. You know, it's funny because I always thought that was your last name. It's not my business to ask. I was like, I thought that was because it just always stuck out, especially with when I first met you. But at the end of the day, people is going to get to know who you are. So let's start from the beginning. Tell us where you're originally from.
Okay. I'm originally from Northern Virginia. I was born in Alexandria, um, and lived there with my parents until I guess I was about one, and we moved to Maryland. Um, and I lived there until I was six. Both of my parents worked at the Library of Congress in DC, and I have a lot of family in Northern Virginia. I mean, really all over the DMV, like all over that area. Uh, on my dad's side, especially. So, yeah, that's where I'm from originally.
Nice. So then that brings up the question, I guess, how we met, and I guess going to build up to some other stuff. So, what was it since you were in those areas? What was it that brought you to North Carolina?
So we moved here to Harmony when I was six. Um, my mom's family is here, uh, and essentially, my dad had an addiction issue, and it resulted in him losing his job with the Library of Congress. And we moved here. My mom was hoping that he would be able to like clean himself up and whatnot. She was mistaken, but that's why we moved here to North Carolina. And so I grew up here, um, from the time I was six, and was still like spending my summers up in Arlington, Virginia. Uh, and then I ended up going to Winston-Salem State, and I met my ex-husband freshman year, and we were together. Like we were together until about 2 years ago. Um, but we let's see, went to Salem State, graduated, went to Jacksonville, Florida, bounced around a bit, and we ended up in Fayetteville. Well, before that, we were outside of Raleigh. We were like in Smithfield, Selma area. Then we came to Fayetteville when he got a coaching job at Fayetteville State. And so I think we were in Fayetteville for like 4 years. Um, and during that time, like started the clothing line. But we came to Fayetteville with the idea of the clothing line already kind of like not all the way hashed out, but somewhat. And then came to Fayetteville, ended up starting it, and yeah,
Nice.
yeah,
You jumped ahead a little bit, but it's
I
fine.
did. I'm sorry.
No, you good. You good. You good. Trust me. As much as this is a show to everybody else, this is more so for me catching up with also with a dope friend of mine. So being the person that you are,
Hmm.
because you do a lot. It wasn't more so until I honestly have to say after you left, and even we stayed connected somewhat during social media, was when I like got to know more about you, because I know during when time you were here in Fayetteville, it we when you're artists and sometimes you get to see each other at certain events, but sometimes it's not the case, because when you spread out, you spread out. But one thing I notice about you more so than the clothing line is that you just did a lot of stuff. So I guess this question is kind of backtracking, but I guess it can build up to where it's at now. So what
Hmm.
got you involved generally with the arts to begin with?
I've been an artist my whole life. I've been drawing for as long as I can remember. Um, and I've been writing since I was six. And I started with a book of poems that I still have. It's stapled together. Um, and it's like it's full of poems like when it rains I feel sad, and then the sun comes out and then I'm glad. Like it's that kind of stuff. But still it's mine. It's my first book of poems. So But yeah, like I've been creating my whole life, and thankfully I have parents who always supported that. If we had the means, I was supported in that. And so I like to craft, I like to make things, I like to draw. Um, so yeah, like uh, I don't know if anybody else remember these, but there was a series of books, and they were basically like they were kind of like encyclopedias, but they were called like children's books or something like that. And it was like a whole series, right? And each book had a different theme. And so at least two of those books were like based around like crafts and making things. And there was even like a book that was dedicated to poetry and limericks and riddles and whatnot. And so I remember like some of that like being influenced by that. But even before that, I remember, asking my dad, "Ooh, can you draw me a pony? Can you do this?" And I mean, he told me a story um about how I used to always draw on on the walls, which many of us children did that, right? But he said essentially there was something that kept compelling me to come back and do it over and over again, even though I would get fussed at, um, and I would cry and promise I wouldn't do it again. But he would walk into my room and I'd be right there draw, drawn on the wall. And he said, he said, I didn't think about it until much later, but he said, I think that was just the artist in you, like that just had to come out. Cause he said you would like be in tears. Like I would just be devastated and like promising I'll never do it again. And then what they say, like Pookie with the crack, like the walls was just calling to me and I just like had to fucking put my art on there. I don't know, but I've just always been an artist. So I think I think it's just always been in me. It's always been a part of who I am, and then other things essentially stoke that fire. Yeah.
Awesome. That's an awesome story. Real quick, shout out to my friend Nadia who's tuning in. She's in Wilmington, but she's actually visiting from Germany.
Mm,
So definitely shout out to you. I definitely got to make sure y'all connect because she's a dope person you should get to know.
mm.
So this is a crazy question because now it made me think of this. So are you ever gonna get this book dropped? Are you gonna ever get this book in print from these poems from when you was sad but the sun's out now you're glad? Or we go I mean, I'm just saying, you said you wrote some poems, so I would be stoked to get a book. I'm just saying.
Listen, I mean, that would be dope to like publish. I have so much poetry written, so many poems to go through, but it would be dope to like put together some of my poems from elementary and middle school for sure. So I mean, that's a possibility. I have a number of seems like an infinite number of projects in my mind or that have been started. And so I'll just file that away with the other ideas that I have.
So, I have another question for you. So we know about the writer in you now. So
Mhm.
I want to know about the crafter in you and like where did that come from? Because on your website and then just on your social media, I know recently more than I've seen before. You've been posting a lot of stuff you've been crafting, whether it's been the earrings that you're probably wearing right now that you're crafted,
Mhm.
or the beads, which
Mhm.
I got this from your friend Angela, by the way. So
Okay.
shout out to Angela. So where did that come? Where did that idea come from to start crafting?
Um I've crafted basically my whole life. Usually like using textiles. and sewing. And then I think I was still living in Jacksonville, Florida when I first started making jewelry. And it was just like, because I couldn't find stuff that I wanted. Like, I couldn't find what I was looking for in the stores. And I would look at what I did see in the stores and figure out how they made it, and then go and find the pieces and figure out how to put them together. Um, and so making jewelry is something that I've done off and on for well over a decade. Um, this is the f- I mean, this isn't the first time that I'm selling my jewelry, but I first started selling my jewelry when I was living in Fayetteville and had the boutique. Uh, and it's, creativity is like, it's something that comes in cycles. And I think it can be overwhelming at times when you're somebody who is gifted in a lot of different ways creatively, because you have a lot of different ideas and a number of things that you do well. So it's like, oh, like, what do I want to do now? This is the first time that I'm like selling feather earrings, even though I've been making feather earrings for a long time. This is the first time that I'm like putting it out there and making it available to the public. Before, it would be somebody would see me wearing earrings that I made, and it would be somebody I know, and they'd be like, "Can you make me?" And I'd be like, "Okay, yeah." Like, you know what I'm saying? Like a one off thing. And so um, it's something that I've been doing for well over a decade. Like I said, this is the first time that I'm exploring it as um, a way to sustain a living. Right? Like, and I say it that way because I'm like, yeah, this is where I'm at right now. But I mean, in a month or so, I might be like, okay, I'm off there for right now. Like, I'm not
Mhm.
set. No, after I sell this last pair, after I sell this last bracelet, that's it. And so, which I think is important, like, because I think a lot of times as creatives, we can get caught up in wanting to put out what, what people are demanding of us. Um, and I don't ever want to be at a point where making earrings or bracelets or making whatever feels like a job. Because I'm going to tell you one thing, I done had 10,000 different jobs, but I don't like them. Because the thing about jobs is somebody else has their hands on your time, and that I'm not here for that. Like, I don't like that shit. So, yeah, to answer your question, I've been crafting in some way really my whole life, like I said, because if we had the supplies to make it,
Mhm.
my mom would be like, okay, make it. We got all the things. We don't have to buy anything extra. Like, yeah, go make you your makeshift. I made a fishing pole one time. I'm just, I just always made stuff. And also I was around women, especially who did things with their hands. Like, my mom used to pick up furniture from the thrift store, and I would watch her and even help her strip the paint off and restain it. And so I've done that, and I do that and love it. So it's just in me. It's in my blood. I've been making things with my hands and reworking things with my hands since I was a child. I mean, cutting up old clothes to make new clothes for my Barbies, and um just all kinds of stuff. So yeah, I've just always been the crafter, the maker for as long as I can remember.
That's awesome. So you can. I know you don't see me on the screen, but my voice
Mhm.
is still present. But
Mhm.
Ricardo Morgan, an actor I know, stage actor, says, as a creative, lack of what you search for is always incredible inspiration, no matter the medium. Dope. So he's giving you some dope recognition on that. I
Indeed.
have another person that has a question.
Okay.
And I was gonna wait to bring it up because of something I was gonna ask, but I'm gonna go ahead and bring it up now because it could lead into what I was gonna ask. And
Okay.
what has been the biggest influence on your life?
Huh. The biggest influence on my life. Let me think about that. Um, I would have to say this is gonna sound mad cheesy, but I don't care. Love and like the biggest influence on my life has been um love of not love from people who like care for me and my well-being and support me and stuff, and alongside like love of self, which is something that isn't always easy to develop. um but love in general is what drives me. And honestly, if it's not love driven, I can't do it. And so I have to say that would be the biggest influence. Um it's what keeps me engaged with whatever it is that I'm doing. um it keeps me engaged in my interactions with other humans, and um it informs the way that I show up in my work, and um the way that I show up in the world. So yeah, like love. And I'm the person that feels things very intensely, um whatever that may be, whether it's pleasant or unpleasant. And on my best days, I'm feeling very much connected with love and full of love, like to the point where my heart just be like, it feels like it's expanding, and love itself is expansive. And I think in a lot of ways it's underrated, but that has definitely the biggest influence on my life. Like love, period. Whatever kind of love, right? Love of my craft, love for other people, like a general, like just love and care for others. Um and then also, like I said, the love that I receive, that's the biggest influence. I can't even name what else. What else influences me more? I don't know.
I think that's a good answer. Especially this gonna sound cheesy, but I think like everybody always talk about the signs, like the Leos and everything like that. But I think even with me being a Leo, I can actually I can agree with that because that's one of the biggest things we always kind of lean towards. Appreciation for self, appreciation for the love we receive, also the love we give, because we want everything to be reciprocal. And we're all basically like empaths for sure.
Hmm.
Since I brought her up, uh, your friend, our friend Angela,
Hey,
says her love.
Ange. Hey,
So
Ange.
yeah,
Yeah, like it's the, like where, I mean, really, truly, where would we be if somebody had not loved and cared for us? Someone, would we even be here? Could we even exist for real, for real? Um, and even begin to experience the fullness of what life has to offer us, or even like be able to begin to live into the person that we were put here to be. So yeah, that's why I say like it's and I can't even like, there aren't words to fully express just how influential love is. You feel me? Like I don't even have the words because it's such an expansive thing. Um that influences all of us, even when we don't feel like we're connected with love. That's the part. Like, a lot of times we experience things that make us feel disconnected from it, but you are always loved and supported no matter what. If you wasn't, you would not be here. Period. You would not exist. Yeah, you would
I love
not be
that
alive.
answer. I love that answer. So another awesome thing that you do, like I said, I'm only touching on a few things. I mean, I'm pretty sure there's a lot more that makes up Tia.
Mhm.
Is the fact that you're also an awesome, phenomenal yoga instructor who, like, every other day you're doing like some sessions or you doing like an interview dealing with like with everything you do. And I know that I don't know if now forgive me if I messed this up because I went on the website and I saw something that you say you was like I think it's been 4 years, but it could be more. I don't know. But what got you wanting to get involved with yoga and then become a yoga instructor? And then what has it been like to see the work that you've been putting in with that, having people reach out to you to then instruct not only like private classes, but like even more, whether it be more groups of people or even on a virtual platform.
Mhm. Um, so I've been practicing yoga for 10 years. Yeah, like 10 years now, maybe a little more than that. I actually began practicing while I was living in Fayetteville. And I knew about yoga somewhat. Uh, and essentially I got into it because I thought it would be a good supplement to my workout. Cause like I was working out all the time. I had a personal trainer and shit. Like I thought I was doing it. And so, my ex-husband had bought me these DVDs, so I was practicing like doing these 20-minute sessions. Um, and then I worked up enough nerve to actually go to an in-person class and it kicked my ass and I was like, this is some bullshit. Just very, very much ego driven in that moment and very feeling very competitive. Like, I know these bitches ain't out here doing me, like outdoing me. You know what I'm saying? Like, I thought I was in shape, but I was struggling. But when I was done, I felt um connected with myself in a way that I hadn't outside of when I'm creating. You know what I'm saying? Like when I'm creating, I feel very connected. And so I was like, oh wow, like I feel really good. This shit was hard. I couldn't breathe. Um, but I'm gonna come back. And my first instructor was a woman named Melissa who was much younger than me, like in her early 20s. And she seemed to carry a lot of like so much knowledge about the practice, and she would introduce like yoga philosophy during class that definitely sparked my interest. And she actually was selling beaded bracelets in my boutique, and so she came by one day to switch out her inventory and we started talking. And if you were ever in that space, like it was always hard to leave. It didn't matter. You thought you were coming in to like get a shirt real quick, but you end up like sitting there and talking for hours. But anyway, so Melissa and I got into a talk about yoga, the practice of yoga, and not the physical practice, but like the actual like philosophy of yoga. And she said, you know, you should really think about like you should look into yoga and study the philosophy. She said, I think that you'll find this in alignment with a lot of the things that you're always talking about. So I was like, okay, that's what's up. And then she was like, you know, I think you should be a yoga teacher. And I was like, man, get the fuck out of here. I can't. No. Do you see me struggling in your class? Do you see me struggling to breathe? Like, there's no way. And she was like laughing, but she was the person that planted the seed. And she said, I think you would be a really good yoga teacher, like maybe down the line. And so I was like, yeah, okay, whatever. But she was also the person to be like, the first person that I ever heard say, I just think that if everyone practiced yoga, it would save the world. And I was like, it's just yoga. Like, it ain't that deep. Seriously though, it is that deep. And if enough people practice yoga, it would literally save the world. But anyway, um so I went on to develop my practice. Um my ex-husband and I, we started living separately. He was building a new business that took him out of town. I ended up moving home, but continuing to practice. And I found another phenomenal yoga teacher, um, who helped me develop my practice even more. And then essentially, after being um, asked lots of times after yoga classes, because I was traveling a lot, and everywhere I travel I would look for a place to practice, like see if I could get a yoga class in, so I could get my practice in. And sometimes I would be in Kansas City with my ex-husband, and practicing where he would go to the gym at, or just wherever. But it was like every class somebody was coming up to me afterwards to ask me where I taught. They had stopped asking me if I taught and just assumed that I was a yoga instructor already. Where do you teach? Because I want to come to your class. And I'll be like, I'm not a yoga teacher. So I'm sorry, but no. But eventually I said, you know what? God, creator, universe, source. Okay, I hear you. Clearly this is something I'm supposed to be doing. And I registered, and I freaked out because I didn't speaking in front of people was not something that I enjoyed. I could do it, but like, to be standing up in front of adults, like grown ass people, telling them what to do with their bodies, it just seemed like a lot, yo. Did I want that responsibility? And then it just seemed like a lot. But um it's one of those decisions where, like, I made it and I freaked out about it, but at the same time, intuitively I knew that I was doing the right thing. Like, I was on a path and I didn't know what was about to happen. Um and then when I went through yoga teacher training, every day I looked around, the only black person there, the only black person anywhere on that campus, but I never doubted that I was doing what I was supposed to do. Like, every day I looked around and I was looking at my classmates like, yo, this is where I'm supposed to be. Like, this is what I'm supposed to be doing. And during the exit interview, um, before like graduation, the main teacher sat down with each of us individually and, asked us questions about how we felt about teaching and blah, blah, blah. And so she was like, "So, how do you feel about teaching?" And I was like, "Shit, I'm ready." And I said it just like that. Like, I feel like I'm ready. And she was like, "Well, you should, because you're a fucking natural." And I was like, "Yes." And so I've been teaching for 5 years, and um it's been amazing. It's it's what I'm supposed to be doing. Like, taking the practice and breaking it down in a way that people can understand it and understand how it does apply to real life. Like, beyond what you do on the mat, which you can apply a lot of the things that you learn on the mat to real life, and also the actual like philosophical teachings. um yeah, it's yoga's life, and it can literally save the world. It can save the world. So yeah.
Nice, nice. I could tell like everything you were talking about, especially yoga, it brings you much joy because the biggest smile that came on your face talking about it was a real
Mhm.
radiant one.
Mhm.
So this is a I don't even know how to ask this question because I always ask this question, but I don't know if it's It's hard to ask this question only because you can look at the entrepreneurship of the question, or you can look at the personal story with the question. But I always ask this question in your life at this point because you have so much more that you're going to accomplish. You can either take the creative route or you can take the personal route or both. But what do you feel at this point has been one of your greatest achievements thus far?
Mm. One of my greatest achievements. So, hmm.
You can fuss me out later. I know I'm making you think.
No, it's because I'm falling out of a pattern of downplaying um what I have to offer and what and the things that I've done. I'm like, okay, Tia, stop downplaying your shit. I'll say this. One of the things that makes me super proud right now is my ability to pivot. Like one of my greatest achievements is being able to establish financial independence from my ex-husband solely off of my entrepreneurship, solely off of my own business sense, my own experiences, um, listening to my intuition, um, and like doing my inner work consistently. Uh, I would have to say that is my greatest achievement thus far. Like, oh shit, like I've been building this yoga brand and this Tiya Caniel adornment brand for a minute, and it's looked like different things. And uh it's not always easy. You know, entrepreneurship is something else. And so to like legit be making a living off of showing up as myself is my greatest achievement. Not on some like showing up and like, but I'm allowing people to put me into boxes and shit like that. But like when I don't feel like doing something, I just stop doing it and be like, I'm about to figure out some other shit because this isn't feeding me anymore spiritually, um, emotionally, right? So yeah, I would say that my biggest achievement thus far is establishing true financial independence from my ex-husband solely off of my own gifts and talents and doing it my fucking way. Like that's the part. Like when I think about that shit, that shit kind of get me hyped. Like, yo, you really doing this shit and you doing it your way. And honestly, like I ain't gonna say I'm flying by the seat of my pants, but like I'm really winging it out here. I'm really winging it. I've been winging it the whole time. Um, and I be telling people that and they don't really believe me. And I'm like, man, I don't know. I ain't never known what I was doing. Like, I have a lot of knowledge and shit to share. You know what I'm saying? And I don't always know the best way to go about sharing it. Right. But I just show up as myself. And so I think it's a huge achievement when we can be out here legit uh creating sustainable lifestyles for ourselves for showing up as ourselves. That anybody who does that, like big ups to you. Kudos to you. Like you deserve all the flowers, the trophies, all of the things cuz that's a really amazing achievement. Yeah. So that would be my biggest.
That's good. That's good. It's you know what? It's it's beautiful hearing you say that. And this is coming from a personal point because like when I seen everything you were doing, I literally and this like I said, this ain't no jab or that like that. So take I don't want people to take it as such. Like you really when you see people doing certain things, like when you had your brand here, the boutique, which I will tell you now, I personally hate. I never got a chance to make it there. I am like kicking myself in the ass. 'Cause I always heard about that, but you would always think when you see people from the business standpoint, they're the ones that you like. I want to make sure I get my stuff like them at some point because they seem like they got it together. And you saying that is is like humanizing, let folks know it's like, hey, yeah, I'm doing this, I'm building my brand, but I'm still learning as well. And I think a lot of people don't get the and I think people don't never most of the time hear that because at the end of the day, like as a true creative, and I always say this, as a true creative, you're always learning. You're always learning. There's
Hmm.
always more stuff to learn. So to hear
Hmm.
you say that, it's refreshing because at the end of the day, like, I'm a in the same boat. Even being an entrepreneur with everything I'm doing, I'm still learning. I do not have all the answers. So to hear that from another person who I honestly look at as the grind and the grind that you always do, hear that made me feel good. I'm pretty sure it's for the same artist. I know Angela has been going nuts in our comment box.
That's my sis.
Just,
That's my
going in about
sister.
yeah, I love Angela. Who's another entrepreneur as well. So I mean,
Right.
hopefully everybody is getting something from what you're saying tonight. So I got two more questions for you.
Hmm.
Before we wrap it up, unless the audience have questions that they want to ask you. So another good question. You do a lot of things. So what is it like? What's it like to balance everything? Because it cannot be easy. I know a lot of people always say, "Well, I got a whole formula I do," but at some points it becomes a damn headache. So what's it like trying to balance everything?
A whole formula. That's interesting. So I have put myself in a position where it's a lot easier now to balance things. Cause I like to move with as much ease as possible. Um, cause I believe that we deserve to like move in more ease and not feel like we gotta hustle and grind all the time. And so, um, yeah, I guess like what keeps me grounded and feeling balanced and helps me make sure that I'm allotting the amount of time that I need to whatever I'm working on is I have a morning ritual. I don't want to call it a routine because routines we just do things we do those mindlessly, but a ritual is like a sacred practice, right? It's something that we do and we're very intentional and deliberate in that. And so I have a morning ritual that I move through first thing in the morning. And then I have like other set things that I know I would like to do before I have to interact with people in any way. um, and so, you know, when there is a need for it, like when I have a lot of projects that have deadlines, even self-imposed deadlines, I create a content calendar for myself or like a creative calendar and say, okay, on Monday, I'm going to devote this many hours to this. And on Tuesday, well, I typically like to be off on Tuesdays, but you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm very deliberate about how I spend my time. And I don't necessarily like say from 2 to 3 I'm going to be doing this unless it's an actual like me having a class or some sort of like obligation to someone else. But when for the most part it's me setting my own schedule, uh I know how much time I want to allot to things every day, and I know how much time I need to have to nap or rest or eat or do whatever the fuck else I want to do. And so I'm very vigilant about carving out time for rest, and that's how I stay balanced. And because for me, it's really easy for me to fall into, I'm not doing enough, I'm not producing enough, I'm not making enough money. Oh, I need to be doing this, I need to be doing that. And it's easy for me to get into a zone and just work and not eat, not drink water, not sleep. And so I make sure that if nothing else, I'm carving out time for rest. And me, because I am a Leo, I am a cat, I need a lot of rest. I need a lot of like, I'm just gonna lie here and luxuriate. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm just gonna go and bask in the sun because why not? This other stuff will get done when it's supposed to. But also it helps me, and time is a construct, yo. Like, it ain't real. It's not real. And so I operate from that mindset where it's like it's a construct. We over here like moving with this false sense of energy, urgency, and that ain't how we supposed to be living. And so, you know, I made 2 pairs of earrings. That feels good. Guess what? I'm chilling. I'll make 2 more pairs tomorrow and put those up on my site. I mean, I don't know, like that's how I find balance. Like making sure that I get enough rest so that I can be grounded, and I make sure I do my morning ritual. And then everything after that is like whatever. Like I know when I have my clients, and then I need 3 hours before I have to before I'm obligated to interact with people. I need 3 hours to myself. So guess what? I give myself that 3 hours. Then I have my first client, maybe one right after that, or it might just be one for the day, which is great because then I can chop up my day the way I need to, and I still get my shit done. But that rest though, because it's like we can't talk about being balanced if we're not talking about rest. Like we can't talk about balancing all of the things if we're not talking about rest, and that's how I feel. And this is just me on my black liberation type shit, like, or liberation in general. You know, you can get like honor the times when you get into your creative zone, like, and go with that. And also remember, you still need to eat and drink water. You still need to rest. There's a ton of ideas that I have in unfinished product projects, like I mentioned before. However, they get done when they get done. Like when I leave this earth and I don't have control over when or how that's going to happen, hopefully I will have allowed myself to be connected with my joy. Hopefully I'm rested. You feel me? Hopefully, you know what I'm saying? Like
Mhm.
I've allowed myself to experience pleasure as much as I possibly can. Anything after that, I just be like, it'll get done when it's supposed to get done. I'm always gonna show up on time for my appointments. You feel me? Like I'm gonna fulfill my obligations to other people, but I'm obligated to myself first and foremost. So when it comes to balancing, like keep that in mind. Like rest yourself, carve out lots of time for yourself, lots of time to do whatever. And if it's just to create for the sake of creating, please do that. Don't get burned out and overworked and exhausted over something that you really like love to do because you love it. You feel me?
Mhm.
So yeah.
Nice. Nice. So my last question
Mm-hmm.
for the show. I mean, I'm pretty sure I'm gonna reach out to you later and just pick your brain more. What is one thing people can expect when they meet Tiya Caniel for the first
What can they expect?
time?
One thing that I don't know. One thing they can expect when they meet me for the first time. Um, Authenticity, I would have to say. Like I'm gonna show up and be me. Yeah, I would. I mean, that would be it. I'm gonna show up and be me.
That's it. And sometimes that's all it needs to be. So, real quick before we wrap this up, tell everybody once again who you are, what you do, where can they find you, and all that greatness that is Tia.
I am Tiya Caniel. Um, I am a yogi, a creative, a writer, and an adornment or an inner space adornment stylist, and I can be found on Instagram um, at Tiya Caniel. I have a website, tiyacaniel.com. I also have a Ko-fi page, which is similar to Patreon, where you can support my work, and that's where my online store is. You can buy my book from tiyacaniel.com or my Ko-fi page, and my Ko-fi page is ko-fi.com/Tiya Caniel. Um, yeah, and that's it. That's that's it, really. That's all you asked, right?
Yeah, that's it. That's
Oh,
all I ask.
okay. I was like,
Whatever else
really?
you want to
Was I
talk about. If
supposed
you
to
had,
say something else?
no, I'm gonna say if you unless you got some projects or something coming up in the area where you at are going to be traveling that people may want to look out for, you're more than welcome to do it. This
Oh,
your moment.
yeah. So I'm planning a pop-up yoga class in Charlotte on 12/12. That's a Sunday at it's on 12/12 at 12 p.m. Um that's gonna be in Charlotte at this place called McFly Print. Is it McFly Printing? It's McFly. Fresh Prints, I think is what it's called. They're really dope. Black owned printing company, and I'm currently writing a book. I have an ebook, a chakras ebook right now called Balance and Align. And now I'm writing a mantras book. So it'll be 52 mantras. Um, Essentially one mantra for each week of the year. And I'll share inspiration behind the mantra, if it's related to any chakras or any specific yogic philosophies, and like offer some self exploration exercises around each mantra. Um, there's another book in the works. I ain't gonna talk about it really yet, but it's called Adornment, and I'm gonna leave it at that. That's I gotta like because there are so many different things that I want to do. I gotta like first finish your mantras book, Tia, because that's the book that you had the idea for first, and so that's the one that I'm working on. Um, Hopefully I'm done by the end of December. That's the goal. We'll see. Um, am I working on anything else? I don't have anything else in the works. That's like really major right now. Um, I would like to plan a retreat, a yoga retreat. It's been a while. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. But if you follow me on Instagram, then you'll be in the loop, basically.
Good, good.
Mm-hmm.
Well, thank you so much for taking out. Well, looking at my clock, an hour and 7 minutes out of your day to be in this virtual space, and it was good. It was good to hear your story. It's good to know of everything that you're doing. I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm looking out for. I'm gonna be hitting you up almost every other month about this poetry book when you get done with all the other projects. So just be expecting that. I'm just saying, we can get you here to do a book signing.
I mean,
I got you.
I forgot, I'm also working on a series of Black fairies, like artwork featuring Black fairies. I haven't really been posting about it a lot, but it is something that I'm working on. So,
Well, you're busy. I mean, you're busy. It happens all the time. So there's
word,
nothing wrong with that.
word.
So if you guys enjoyed the show, by all means, once again, I'm gonna put them up real quick. If you enjoyed our featured artist, please follow our Instagram at Tiya Caniel. And once again, her website information, www.tiyacaniel.com. And just in case you came late, and if you just want to try to catch the event, you can watch the replay. If you're watching on Facebook now, all you gotta do is search LJ Bowens. If you're on YouTube, which some of y'all are on now, just search LJ Bowens. This show will be up probably as soon as we end this event. It's going to probably be posted up, so you can go back, replay it if you missed some information or just want to catch back up to hear the story of Tiya Caniel and all the wonderful things she's doing. You'll definitely be able to catch it. So other than that, guys, that's all we got. Stay tuned for December, because December will be announcing our our last featured artist for the season, because January I'm taking a break. This was our second season, and I'm going to try to bring back the person that started this off next year. If you already know who it is, then backtrack to the first one I did. You'll exactly know who I'm talking about. But until then, thank you guys so much. Once again, Tiya, thank you so much for being here. And above all else, guys, like I always say, purpose over popularity. Talk to you guys soon. Peace.